Hi, I'm Kushi Sethi, and this is Flipping Founders. So I think that whenever we're in a moment where we're really happy, maybe when we're with family and, spending time with them or watching the sunset with our friends, we just want to capture the moment because it's just so beautiful. It's like the memory you want to keep together forever. And today I have with me someone who does that. So welcome to Flipping Founders.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, so do you want to start by telling us a bit about your...
So my name is Cassidy. I'm in my third year here at UBC. My major is film studies and my minor is creative writing. I do a lot of freelance photography, mostly focusing on like editorial work and fashion photography and stuff like that. But I do also a lot of other client work, like weddings, families, couples, like grad photo shoots, things like that, which is super fun. I also have 2 other part-time jobs. I work as more of like a social media coordinator for a digital marketing agency called Volant Marketing. And then I am also the media director of an event organization called The Calendar.
I love The Calendar.
I'm so glad.
Yeah. And so what made you want to get into photography? What developed that initial interest in photography?
Yeah, so a while ago, probably when I was around 7 or something like that, super young, my aunt and my uncle are actually nature and bird photographers.
Mm-hmm.
So we used to go on a lot of little wholesome trips as our entire extended family. And they would always bring their camera, and I always thought it was so fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
I would ask them to teach me, and I would use their really expensive cameras. I don't know why they trusted me, but yeah, I would use their super expensive cameras, and I would just kind of take photos of anything that I thought was remotely interesting. Even if it was a piece of garbage on the floor, I would be like, oh my god, this is the coolest thing ever. This has to be captured. And honestly, I still think that way. I think a lot of aspects can beauty can be found in any ordinary thing around the world. So that's kind of just how I got started. But in high school, I took a photography class with my teacher, Mr. Sharma. At the time, he has a family now, but at the time he was really into it. He shoots for the Canucks here, and he does a lot of things for CTV, a lot of concerts and things like that. So super cool human. I love him so much. He saw that I was super passionate and ambitious and eager to learn more about photography. So he kind of took me under, and yeah, he would give me some of the clients he didn't have time for. He taught me a lot. He invited me to be in the yearbook class when I was in grade 9, which was super cool and pretty big for me. And then after I graduated, I kind of just I was always interested in fashion. Fashion has always been a part of my life and a part of expressing myself as well. So I was like, you know what, fashion photography seems really cool. I had some friends that wanted to become models.
Yeah,
so I was
that's perfect.
Yeah, I was perfect. Can I take some photos of you? And that's kind of just how I got started. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And so you have obviously shot a lot of events and different types of photographies. That's what you call it?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I wasn't sure about the terminology.
Yeah.
So which one has been your favorite?
I mean, I mostly do editorials and fashion right now, and I think that's probably my favorite, just because of the storytelling aspect. Working with big teams like stylists, hairstylists, makeup artists, assistants and models and agencies and things like that. I feel like that is what I really enjoy the most. But honestly, I love every aspect of photography.
Yeah.
I do a lot of event photography for the calendar as well, and I still do some weddings occasionally and things like that, which is super cool because I love meeting new people. That's one of my favorite things about being a photographer is just getting to meet so many people. I've met so many people here in Vancouver. I've gotten to travel this past year, which is really cool. So yeah, definitely just I don't know, probably editorial photography because of the storytelling aspect. But I love everything.
Yeah, and so I think fashion photography, all of us kind of we're so intrigued. Okay, new Vogue cover, we want to see it.
Yeah,
so what does the process kind of look like?
The process of how I come up with an editorial concept.
Yeah, the whole process, what happens actually when we see the Vogue cover, what all goes behind that.
Yeah, for sure. So it kind of starts with like mostly me. A lot of my ideas come from. It sounds super weird, but a lot of my ideas come from like 4 a.m. thoughts. Like if I'm just, like, editing or something like that, then like I have this like stupid crazy idea, and like it starts off really like, I'm not gonna say unrealistic, but very very big. Big ideas, as if I had unlimited budget type of thing.
Okay.
Right? And that's how most creative ideas start, I think. And yeah, I kind of like, like on the notes app on my phone, I literally write down all of my thoughts, all of my like chaotic energy. Like I just like write it all down. And yeah, and then after that, I kind of reach out to a team. So I work with quite a few like other creative directors, wardrobe stylists, hair, makeup, stuff like that, right? So I reach out to those people and ask them if they want to, do my vision.
Yeah.
Send them a couple reference photos as well. I've been working recently with this creative director and wardrobe stylist. Her name is Antonella. She's like literally phenomenal. She's like amazing. So usually I collaborate a lot with her for my ideas, kind of bouncing back and forth, how we can make it happen. So then we create what's called a styling guide, which is essentially almost like a PowerPoint kind of thing, which is super cool. We write down kind of everything, like what the concept is, like the story behind the editorial, which is super important in editorial, like fashion photography, is having a meaning behind the photo shoot. And then we assemble, like, what is the hair gonna look like, what is the makeup gonna look like, kind of like a mood board, a shot list, so some reference photos. And then we look at models, so looking at the different agencies. Well, most of the shoots that I've done is here in Vancouver, so looking at the Vancouver agencies, and kind of, seeing which models fit with our looks, or with our, like, idea the best. We also reach out to designers. I love working with local designers because I love supporting them. But also I've worked with some international designers, and they're also phenomenal. So yeah, a lot of really cool stuff. And kind of just like matching all the pieces together, kind of like a puzzle. And then I start pitching the idea to magazines, sending a lot of emails, like, do you want my idea? And stuff like that. But I've had a lot of luck with it, so yeah. And then essentially, sometimes I find a couple of assistants to help me with lighting and things like that. And then we plan a day to shoot, set up a call sheet, everyone comes, and it's like really fun, so.
Wow, that is a long procedure. How much time does it take then? Maybe like from like your 4 a.m. thought to like you sending the photos, which are like final for like printing or maybe like digital marketing.
Probably a couple months, I would say.
Wow.
It takes a long time. Especially like getting everything together, like getting the garments from the designer.
Yeah.
Because you have to pick those up.
And the fittings.
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of work goes into it. A couple months. It honestly depends though, because for the magazine publications, they have like they release it like mostly like monthly, so it's like the November edition of whatever magazine, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it really depends on like when you get the tear sheets back from the magazine and stuff like that.
And what's like your favorite part of this? Is it like the initial stage? Is it when you're actually shooting and then you need to get like 100 things right, and there's almost like this chaos, but it's like it's fun?
Yeah,
it's like your favorite part.
I love the chaos.
Yeah.
It's like it keeps me going. I love it. Honestly, I feel like it's mostly like the shoot itself. I love like the whole getting ready aspect with the hair and makeup artists. Especially just like kind of seeing your initial like 4 a.m. thought in your notes app, like coming together. Yeah. And like your vision just like coming to life is just like it's
beautiful.
It's amazing. It's like, wow, like I can really do this, and this is super cool. And just like having all of these like talented people around me has been like, honestly, just like I've loved getting to know everyone, getting to know their different talents and how we can work together and make something really cool.
Yeah, and what has been like your favorite memory till now?
Ooh, my favorite memory. I mean, I've done a lot of really cool shoots this past summer. I did this one called Port Femme, which was really cool. It was kind of, it's not my biggest shoot to date, but it was definitely, like a shoot that meant a lot to me, because it's kind of like one of them that like kickstarted like a lot of my ambition this past summer.
Oh.
Yeah, so like in the summer I worked with two designers, Alicia Perillo and Alexis Yu. So Alicia's based in Chicago. But
Oh, I know Alex.
yes,
As you.
yes, Alexis Yu is
Designs are great.
fantastic.
Great.
Literally so amazing. So yeah, I did an editorial for those two, and we did it on the same day with the two same models. Yeah, Alex is quite famous here in the Vancouver.
Yeah,
industry,
I think he was also in the Vancouver Fashion Week.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
He does every season basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, he always comes out with a new collection every season. It's incredible. Yeah, but yeah, so I feel like that shoot was super fun because everyone on the team was just like amazing to work with. And like they were all just like so high energy, very like excited to be there, and I love working with people who are excited to be there.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. I feel like it was just like my vision and like the whole team was just like a really good vibe. And then we went to McDonald's after. So that was so
that's
fun.
great.
Yeah, it was really good. Yeah.
And kind of who has really influenced like your work?
Like photographers.
Yeah. Anybody like who
Anybody.
like who do you kind of look up to in a way?
I mean, this isn't really a photographer, but my mom has been really supportive of my work, and my dad as well. But yeah, I feel like them, like, they've been super motivating to me, and, like, wanting to support me a lot, which is really cool, especially coming from, like, an Asian family and an Asian background. In the creative industry, it's quite rare to have supportive parents, so I'm very thankful for that. But in, like, more regards to, like, artists who have inspired me, I love Annie Leibovitz. I don't know if you've heard of Annie Leibovitz before. She works a lot with Vogue. She's one of the biggest like fashion photographers in the world.
Okay.
So she's
I'm gonna look
cool.
into her work.
Yeah.
I probably must have seen her work.
Yeah.
I probably must have seen her work.
Yeah, she has a lot of celebrities as well. But yeah, her storytelling and all of her work is just like phenomenal. I like really look up to her and the way kind of just like the way she tells stories in her and like the mood in her work is really cool. I also I really like Marina Williams and her use of colors. She recently started this thing called Color Pop, which is kind of like a photographer's meetup, which I think is really cool. So they do a lot of like creative editorials or like creative shoots in general, all in kind of like a weekend. So yeah, I'm super inspired by her work. And also her name is Natalie Jane, I think, but her like handle is Natalie J Photos.
Okay.
She's super cool. She's very ambitious. So I really look up to her. Yeah, she's very hardworking. She doesn't like literally seems like 5 shoots a day, and she constantly like produces work, which is super cool. And her work is like amazing. Like the way she uses colors, the way her like diversity of models and things like that is something that I really look up to in the industry.
Yeah, that's pretty good. And so how long have you kind of been doing like photography professionally?
Professionally, I mean, I did start shooting clients in high school, but I wouldn't say it was really like a consistent thing. It'd be like once every 3 weeks type thing, like a couple $100, you know, like not like something where I would like get clients every day type thing. Yeah, I would say within the past year, I started taking it like a lot more seriously, or maybe kind of like in like beginning of second year of university, after COVID type thing is when I like really started getting into it. Really got a lot of motivation to keep going and stuff like that. So yeah, I feel like within the past year and a bit.
Yeah, and then what do you think are like the important skills and character skills that you need to become like a good photographer?
Yeah, so I was actually talking to an agent this past weekend at this conference called Faces West, and I'm really close with him. He's fantastic. He gave me this advice, and he said, like, never get comfortable. I think that has really, like, resonated with me in my work, especially, just, like, to never feel, like, too satisfied with where you're at. And like, always have new goals, always have new ambitions, because if you feel like, oh, I'm at a really good spot right now where I'm consistently getting clients, that's where you're going to kind of, like, fall off, because you're not innovating new ideas and things like that.
Yeah.
Another piece of advice I would say is probably just, like, shoot your shot. Like, like, the answer is always no until you ask, so send those emails, reach out to people, attend events, like not just like shooting events, but like attending events, like networking events and things like that. Like you never know who you're gonna meet. You never know like future clients that you're gonna meet, or like even like stylists, things like that. Like always be open to meeting new people too. Just kind of like shoot your shot. You never know.
Yeah, and I think like with networking events, it's okay. So I think whenever I've ever been to like a networking event, I go and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be social.
Yeah.
And then I go there, and by the end of it, I must have made like, I met like, I don't know, 15 new people, all amazing people, different stories. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, exactly.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's crazy because like I'm always super nervous to go to networking events. I'm like, oh my gosh, like these people are so much older than me.
Yeah.
Like I'm a female, like things like that. Like I'm just kind of getting in my head, but I feel like once I like get there, start talking, it's like, oh, these people are people too.
Yeah, exactly.
And you learn so much from them, like their journeys, how they got there to where they are, stuff like that, which is really cool.
Yeah, and so how do you approach most of your clients?
Do you mean like when they already book with me?
Or like, who are most of your clients?
Who are most of my clients? Oh, I would say, it depends. For like fashion, it's more like I do a lot of like modeling, like portfolio shoots. So a lot of things for, which I guess like the client would be like the agency or the model. Sometimes the client is like the designer. So if I'm shooting like an e-commerce shoot, and then they would be my client. It really depends, honestly, because obviously like for like lifestyle, the client is like the family, or it's like the grad or something like that, or like the bride and the groom. Those are my clients. But then when it comes to fashion, it's like someone different every time almost.
Yeah, depending upon like the theme of the shoot.
Yeah.
And this is one question which I feel like a lot of people would want to know about, is how do you make the client feel comfortable in front of the camera? Like, we're not talking about models. We're not talking about models.
Already, like,
they
should already know, you know?
Exactly.
I mean, a lot of it is just like talking to them in the first place, kind of understanding, like, I guess, like, understanding, like, obviously not everyone's going to be comfortable in front of the camera. Kind of putting yourself in their shoes, talking to them, I think is super important. And just like learning their stories, and like making sure they know, like, if they don't like the photo, nobody has to see it, type thing. Like, like if you don't like the photo, nobody has to see it. I get to see it. Like, so many terrible photos, all the time. So like if you're mid blink, all good. Like nobody has to see it, just kind of like comforting them, reassuring them, getting them, like, making them feel welcomed to ask any questions that they might have about your work and things like that is like, that's pretty solid. Also, I work with a lot of like they call it new faces in the modeling industry, or like development models. So a lot of like new models who don't have a lot of experience yet, and this is kind of like their first shoot ever, their first portfolio shoot. Kind of like talking to them about the industry and like things like that is just like, I feel like it gets them more comfortable, and like, ask them about their job or ask them about school, like things that things that like don't actually have to do with like the photo shoot itself, but more just like getting to know the person as well, because I like love getting to know people in general.
Yeah, I remember when I came to you for like my shoot, and I was so nervous. I was telling my friend, I was so nervous. I was like, listen, I'm like camera conscious in a way, and I'm like, okay, we're doing like a business logo, like I don't know how I'm gonna look, and I was like, okay, let's just go. I was kind of debating like doing like a shot before like coming, because I was so nervous. I was like, I don't even know how to pose. I was like, I don't even know how to pose. But then I think when I came, and then like we talked, and then in the middle also I'm like, okay, like Cassidy, like poses, and you're like, you can try this, and then you can try that. I'm like, okay, yeah. And then after that, and then when I saw the photos, I was like, wow, like wow. So I think like for me, what was really good was that the entire time we were just like talking, like we're having a conversation, and then you're kind of like clicking me. So I'm like, and I think that was just like, wow, that made it like so much less intimidating, I feel, for people who like have not done like a photo shoot, because that was like my first photo shoot, and I was like, this is great. This wasn't that hard.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad to hear that though.
Yeah.
With like some other photographers for like branding shots for me as well. And yeah, I found like I was super scared because I never go in front of the camera besides like, an iPhone, and it's like me and my friends. You're in front of like a huge camera or like a lighting setup or like a studio, things like that. It can get a lot more intimidating because you feel like all of the eyes are on you. So yeah, or like even if there's nobody in the room, it just still feels like very intimidating.
Yeah.
So yeah, I even noticed that when I was like doing some shoots, even like because my friend is a photographer as well, like doing shoots with her, it makes me almost like, oh, I don't know what to do. Like, I know all these poses for other people, but I feel like I can't do it for myself. So, yeah, I feel like that has really, like, doing those earlier in the year has really, like, helped me understand some of the, like, struggles and, like, intimidation factors that can happen in a photo shoot.
But I feel like if you understand that, then you're better at, like, comforting other people.
Exactly, for sure. Yeah,
so,
exactly. So I feel like it's been super helpful.
And now moving on to some of the industry questions. What's the photography industry like? Is it super collaborative? I know it's highly competitive, but do people like working with each other? Do they want to like do everything themselves? You know, like they want more of the control of the shoot and the creative vision, or they like working with other photographers?
I mean, personally, I love working with other people. It's one of my favorite things about it. I do know that like some other photographers, they prefer to kind of do it themselves. And have they like to pull things themselves. They like to just kind of get a model and like kind of do everything themselves. But I would like working in a more collaborative environment. I think it can kind of be restrictive, like if it's only you type thing, because like you never know what other people know. You never know what they see that you might not catch, things like that. So yeah, I mean, I think in like the industry as a whole, in the fashion industry, it depends. I think it depends on the person, depends on the photographer, and yeah, I'm not sure I have an exact answer for that question, but I think
it depends on the person.
Yeah.
And how do photographers determine their pricing?
Ooh, good question. Personally, I determine my pricing based off of like, first of all, like how much time the shoot is going to be. Say, like it's an hour-long shoot. I've determined my pricing also based on like how many images I'm providing to the client. Also like what the shoot is. So for example, like if it's like a headshot shoot, I'm obviously going to be doing more skin retouching, things like that. So that's going to take longer in the editing process, so kind of taking that into account. Also, like, whether it's studio or outdoors, I have to pay a studio fee. So, like, taking that into account. Taking into account as well, like, the Vancouver market. Vancouver's a very expensive place to live.
Yes.
Things like that. So, obviously, your rates kind of have to be at that standard almost. What else?
And kind of how do other, like, professional, when we're talking, like, when they're shooting celebrities, how do they kind of determine their pricing? Like,
I think it really depends, like, on those factors, but also how much experience you have. How much experience, like, the, like, photographer has, for example. Who they're working with, what agency they're signed with, things like that. Yeah, I feel like it's all kind of, like, case-by-case based, but, yeah, a lot of it is just kind of like based off of your experience and then based off of the conditions that are happening in the shoot.
Yeah, and what are your plans for the future? You know, once you like graduate, do you get into fashion photography full time, or like what are your plans?
Yeah, I mean, I always think about this question, right? Don't have an exact answer yet. I have a lot of pretty big goals for the next coming 5 years or so. I want to travel. This past August, I went to San Francisco and I shot with an agency there called Scout Model Agency. They're a fantastic agency over there. So yeah, I really want to travel more. I would love to go to Europe. I would love to experience like Paris, London Fashion Week.
Yeah.
Like I really want to do that. I really want to do a lot of like New York Fashion Week, things like that too. So yeah, I feel like I do, like, after I graduate, I want to be able to, I guess, work full-time and travel while doing that. Yeah, I also, right now I work at a digital marketing agency as well, and I think it's, like, a super flexible agency that I work at. I work a lot, like hybrid. So like sometimes I go into the
Mm-hmm.
office if I have like I need to get content for a reel or something like that.
Yeah.
And then a lot of it is like posting plans and things like that at home. So after I graduate, I'm thinking of more like sticking with that for sure. Just kind of having that as like not like a backbone, but like more of like
Side hustle,
like yeah,
kind
or
of.
like a secure thing to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
While I'm kind of still figuring out how to do this whole photography thing full time. But yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think like I've seen like your work and like even like the fashion ones, they're great. Like I've seen the purchase I've seen, I was like, wow, like this is great. Yeah, like this is great. I'll probably put a link to like your website on the bio. Yeah, and then what is one misconception about the photography industry?
I think that it's like a lot of people think that like making money is super easy and getting clients is like, oh, everyone needs a photographer, you know, like, but it's like hard because it's like you have to be the person they pick as a photographer. So your work has to stand out to them, and a lot of it is like it's not like inherently the talent, but it's also the marketing aspect of it. Like you have to be able to market yourself. You have to be able to have like a large social media presence consistently. Getting posts up, like on stories, on your feed, things like that. So people know that you're actively shooting, and people know that you have been shooting. You haven't just like if you're they supposed to know that you're gonna like you're open prior. You know what I mean? So I feel like a lot of people think like, oh, you did a creative shoot, and it's really a really good creative shoot. That means you can get paid. Like it doesn't really equal that. It's more like you have to also work for the marketing aspect of it.
Got it. And so how do you kind of stand out in like this competitive kind of like industry? And then is it more like relationship focused? Like would they choose somebody out of like talent, or would they choose like, oh, like we know this kind of person personally and she also happens to be like a photographer?
I think for a lot of like these smaller is not the right word, but like for a lot of like the local things, a lot of word of mouth is obviously super important for like things like UBC grad shoots or like family shoots, couple shoots, things like that. It's like, oh, I know a photographer. Like that's more like where it would be like, oh, I know a photographer. They could totally do my family portraits, which I love doing. I love that so much. But I feel like for more of like the like fashion industry, it's a lot of connections. It's a lot of like who you know, and how tight you are with them. Yeah, I guess kind of like things like that. It's like, more so like who you know and like your connections.
And like your talent.
And yeah, I would say yes, your talent, but obviously like if you're not good, if you can be like incredibly talented, but if nobody knows that you're talented, like
nobody would vouch for you in a way.
Exactly, and it's like a lot of it is just like like talent. What is the like? There's this quote. It's like hard work beats talent if talent doesn't work hard.
Yeah.
Something like that. So I feel like has been like a big factor in the fashion industry.
Yeah, and how do you like stand out?
Oh yes.
What do you do to like stand out?
Kind of going back to like what that agent said to me this past weekend. Like never get comfortable. I think constantly innovating and creating new work that is going to surprise people when they see it on their feed or when they see it printed out. Like it's like whoa, and it kind of makes them think. I think is super important. Like it stops you and it's like, what is this actually about? You know what I mean? It's not just a photo. It's not just like a regular portrait of someone like just like standing with like a blank wall and like it's just like they're in regular clothes, like something like that. Like it's like genuinely like making them think more deeply about the world, and I think that's what really attracts people's attention. With all art forms, obviously, but I think that's kind of how you stand out is like the creative aspect.
The creative
like,
aspect.
The technical aspect, I think, like obviously it is hard to learn settings. It is hard to like know the technical aspect of photography. But like in order to stand out, you need to be innovating new creative ideas that other people haven't done yet.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to like stand out. But I feel like especially in the creative industry, it's so kind of hard to like measure.
Yeah.
So it's like you keep innovating, you come up with something that nobody's done.
Yeah.
And then also something that resonates with other people.
Exactly, for sure.
Because if it's just something that resonates with you, like, you know, it doesn't make sense
100%.
then.
Yeah, exactly. Because then if nobody can relate, then it's like, okay, like, you know, cool,
Exactly.
but like,
What do I do?
like now, okay, you know?
Yeah.
For sure.
And how has social media kind of impacted maybe like your work and the photography industry? Because I feel like with social media, there's so much content. Everybody wants content, like whether they're like big fashion brands or just like influencers. Like they need to keep on producing, and then you have to like capture, like, you know, that.
Consistency.
Yeah. So what do you think has been like the impact for you, like on your work and kind of the industry in whole?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been a big social media fan.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of people are like, oh, I hate social media, stuff like that. But I mean, I work in digital marketing. But, yeah, honestly, when I was younger, I used to have all these like fan accounts. Like kind of cringe, but like, yeah, I used to have like, a lot of fan accounts, and that's kind of how I developed a passion for social media.
Mm-hmm.
And like, especially nowadays, having a business, it is like the most beneficial thing you could do for your business.
Yeah.
Honestly. Yeah, I think being strategic with the way that you market yourself. What do you want people to know about you? What do you not want people to know about you?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of things I obviously don't put out on social media about my life, because obviously I'm not going to put out my personal life on my professional account, things like that. But yeah, I think it has benefited me a lot in the way that like people can get to know me as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you hire someone, you don't want to just like hire someone that you like don't even know, like don't know anything about. Like that could be really creepy.
Yeah.
Especially in like photography, where it's a very like male dominated industry.
Mm-hmm.
So I have kind of like played on the roles of like, I guess like I'm like a young female as well, and that can be a disadvantage, but I can also like, I kind of like twisted it and used it more towards my advantage, where like like people feel more comfortable in hiring me. So kind of like, yeah, I've used social media in that way for people to get more of like, I wouldn't say like an innocent like portrayal of me, but more of like a relaxed portrayal of me. Like I'm not an uptight photographer, things like that. And yeah, also just like being strategic with like the way that you use hashtags, like what hashtags you're using, what you're posting. I don't post like all of my shoots. I actually.
So how do you like decide which one to post and which one to not post?
I think it's more of like a target audience thing, like what I think, what I want my future clients to hire me for. And then also, yeah, I mean, I do post a lot of like my like portrait client work and things like that on my story, but like feed, where it's like always gonna be there. I think more it's like my future clients and what they're gonna like.
Yeah, and I think that's really smart.
Yeah.
That you're like thinking about like your target audience, and yeah, that's pretty great. And when should you get an agent, if you should get an agent?
As a photographer, like for a creative agency. I mean, I'm a freelance photographer. I prefer that because I feel like I can get a lot of freedom out of it. But I do understand like a lot of other photographers are with creative agencies and things like that, which has been beneficial to them. In the sense that it's obviously it's a different way to get work, because I am like, as a freelance like artist, I am technically like my own agent. Yeah. Right? So like for them it's just kind of like someone else booking for them and reaching out to that agency. But I don't know, I feel like I've personally found a lot more success doing freelance, because I get I get creative director control over the whole business. So yeah, I don't know. I think it really depends on the person, on what aspects they want to control about their business. Because obviously if you don't want to control all the bookings and things like that, like it's more recommended that you get an agency, because then you don't have to do that work. But for me, I love like controlling every aspect of my business.
Yeah, and now kind of moving on to like personal questions. When you started out like professionally going into photography, what were kind of like your biggest challenges or kind of like insecurities?
I think my biggest insecurities, I think a lot of the time is like I felt like, I mean, as a young female in a male dominated industry, I felt like there was a lot of like I don't know the right word for it, but like a lot of like not distrust, but like kind of like being overlooked almost.
Okay.
So I think that was like a huge like aspect that I kind of had to overcome, was like, I'm not gonna get older very fast, you know what I mean? Like I'm like, it's just like everyone, age is like every year. You know? I'm not gonna like be like 5 years older suddenly. So I kind of realized that, and then kind of took it more to my advantage. And like used it as part of my branding almost. Instead, which I think has been, it's been super helpful to me. So I feel like that was originally one of my insecurities, as well as just kind of like talking to people. I wouldn't say that I was necessarily like a very shy person in high school, but I wasn't like someone that would like specifically go out of my way to talk to someone new. I mostly like stuck with the people that I was friends with, and like people from like, say, like elementary school, or I had some friends from like sports and that like went to my high school. So like I would kind of like stick with them instead of like branching out and meeting new people. So I feel like that is something like an obstacle I kind of had to overcome. But now like I definitely feel a lot more confident talking to new people, which has been like a really cool experience to just see me personally grow as well, and not just like through my business, but like also just gaining.
Yeah, it's something like you should be proud of.
Yeah. Exactly.
And like, how did you like overcome it? Like just doing it?
Yeah, just kind of just doing it, honestly. I met new people. I honestly don't really know. I kind of just came with like shooting. Yeah. Keep doing it, and then I kept talking to more people, and then suddenly I was going to these networking events, and I was like talking to so many people, business owners, and like other people in this like in like really cool industries, and I suddenly just like I'm just more confident in it now.
Yeah, and I think that's great. I think when you like first like you're like, okay, I wanna like talk to more people, but I'm nervous, and then I think there's like every time you feel that way, what I personally do is I'm just like, it's okay, like stop thinking, just go. And then once you enter the room, it can be a bit daunting, but as soon as like somebody approaches you just like have one conversation, you're like, okay, I'm calm, like, you know, then it's just sure. Like, then it's okay.
Yeah, and then you realize they're human too.
Yeah.
They might also be scared. They might have like a little bit of social anxiety talking to you as well. Like,
exactly.
You don't know that. And like, I think like something, I can't remember who told me this, but one of my friends told me this, and she was like, honestly, like they're more focused on themselves and how they're acting and how they're portraying themselves to you than they are focused on how you.
Yeah, I think that is so common for like a lot of people, including me, to think, oh, like I'm gonna go and I'm gonna say this and they're gonna judge me, you know, and they're gonna judge me. But I don't think so. Like I don't think so. And it's just like if you're kind of like scared or like one situation makes you nervous, like do it until like you're not nervous.
Exactly.
And then it'll just come Yeah, and then it'll come naturally to you.
Exactly.
I remember like. So, like, our first year was online. Yeah, our first year was online. I was like, I don't know a single person in my university. Yeah. And then second year I come, especially, like, after COVID and after lockdown, I'm like, how do I socialize?
Yeah,
like,
literally.
How do I socialize? But I think that's how everyone kind of felt. But with time, with, like, kind of going to classes, meeting people on a daily basis, we're like, it's normal now. Like, it's not that hard.
Exactly. It just comes with time.
Yeah, and what is kind of like your productivity hack? Because you do so many things. How do you manage it?
I think a lot of it is like, I mean, I can say this as much as possible, like take time for yourself, whatever, but I'm not the best at that, honestly. Like,
I don't think our generation is.
Yeah,
I don't think our generation is.
Exactly. It's like, take care of your mental health, go on a walk, things like that. Which I guess, honestly, I don't do that for myself.
Yeah, what works for you?
Yeah.
Like, what do you do?
What works for me? I don't know. A lot of reflection. I write a lot of my goals down. Kind of reviewing them as well. Constantly being inspired, I think.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of that comes with, like, social media, what I'm seeing on social media.
Yeah.
Going on walks, just, like looking at the world, seeing what I can make out of it, and create out of it is, like, really, really important to me. So yeah, I feel like it's just, like, constantly having that motivation and constantly having those goals and reflecting back on that.
So kind of holding yourself almost accountable.
Exactly, for sure. And, like, doing your best to avoid burnout, obviously.
Yeah.
That is, like, something that I've kind of struggled with the past few months, is feeling very overwhelmed with the amount of work that I have. So, and then kind of, like, you don't want to, like, obviously it's okay to be stressed. I think that's the normal part.
But you don't want to burn out.
You don't want to burn out. You don't want to be like, I'm just not going to do it type thing. Like, you want to avoid that at all costs. So, like, realizing the importance of, like, taking time for yourself, going out with your friends, I think is, like, really good to get your mind off of, like, work, which is really good for me because I find, like, after I go out with my friends, then I'll go and sit down and edit or answer emails, things like that. Also, recently I found, like, having friends that are also, like, young entrepreneurs, having their own business is, like,
that's a game changer.
Yeah, super motivating. Very cool. My friend Serena, she goes to UBC as well. She's in senior. But she is a Vancouver Fashion Week designer. So I met her in April, actually, in, like, the fall-winter season. And she had her show, and I reached out to her, and I was like, oh, like, you're a UBC student as well. Like, that's so cool. We went out for tacos. But, yeah. And then we became, like, super close. So now we always, like, I edit and she sews. Simultaneously, and we talk about life, we talk about the industry, like, things like that. And I feel like she's been a super motivating factor for me because she has a lot going for her. She just did her second season of Fashion Week as well. Wow. And she has a ton of goals. So I feel like just, like, surrounding yourself with people who are also highly motivated has really helped me become more motivated.
Yeah, I think, like, especially, like, the burnout part, I think I was talking to someone about it, and then I was just like, you cannot burn out. Like, if you're your brand and if you're your company...
If you are the whole thing, you cannot burn out.
Exactly, you cannot burn out, because then, like, your company's, like, your baby. You know what I mean? So then your baby dies, and then when you're burnt out, like, you're just, like, sitting and, like, you're sad, and you're just maybe, like, watching Netflix and eating ice cream and, like, just, like, being sad about everything. So... like, those 2 weeks are gone. And it's not even, like, you took out those 2 weeks and went for maybe, like, a vacation and enjoyed. It's like, you just wasted it. And then once you get back, then again, you need to kind of, like, build that confidence that, okay, no, like, I can do it. Like,
exactly. It takes time to build back after that burnout.
Yeah.
Honestly, yeah.
I've learned this the hard way, that you cannot burn out. Like, it's fine. Like, take a day off, go outside.
Take a day off, then burn out for 2 weeks.
Exactly. And I feel like once, like, I think your body kind of also, like, tells you, like, okay, stop.
Yeah, it's like, okay, you need to chill for a bit.
Yeah, and then once you do that, like, I totally get, like, sometimes I'm gonna be like, okay, like, 5 hours I'm working, and then I'm gonna take maybe, like, a half an hour break, go meet friends. And then when you go meet friends, you talk about, like, nice stuff, you laugh, and then you come back, and then you're like, okay, I'm ready.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like, especially, like, almost, like, after, like, a night out with friends and things like that, like, you come back, you're like, okay, I'm going to wake up early, and I'm going to go on a walk, and then I'm going to start work, and then you just feel so much more motivated because you had that, like, break.
Exactly. And it actually, like, I've seen this. I think once I kind of recorded, like, 5 podcast episodes in a week.
Oh, wow.
And I was, because midterms were coming, so I had to, like, plan it out. So I was like, okay, like, 5 days. So, like, 5 days I was just here in the room, and I was like, okay, let's do it. And after 5 days, I was burnt out.
Yeah.
I was burnt out. And then I had the midterms.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, like, and I had to edit those episodes.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm like, why did I do this to myself? Yeah. And from that time, I'm like, okay, 1 episode a week. And then you edit that, and then that's, like, your best work. Yeah. And then the next week you do that. That's, like, your best work.
I find also if you, like, overflow your schedule and do a lot of things...
you're just going to be half-assing it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's not your best work, so that's why it's super important.
Yeah, because I feel like even, like, kind of, like, in the creative industry, right, if you're doing any qualitative work, it has to, like, give value to like other people. It's really important to like not burn out, especially like if you don't have other people to kind of like hold your hand, and like you're kind of like on your own. Then like it's okay, I'll go out, maybe like and I think whatever like works for you. If maybe that's like spending time with friends, if maybe that's like talking to like one of like your like-minded friends, telling them like about like your life crisis, whatever works for you, or even like shopping. I know shopping helps for a lot of people.
Yeah, for sure. Just like talking and being open about it, I think it's super important, because all of us, especially as students,
especially UBC's competitive.
UBC is super competitive. There's like a lot of like, I mean, like every student basically seeks academic validation. So I
have an episode about that.
I was literally just thinking the other day, I'm like, if I don't get straight A's, like, oh my god, this is like the end.
I know.
And I'm like, I don't even like really need my degree. Like, why am I stressing? Like.
And what are kind of like your 3 favorite movies or any kind of like artwork that has had like a huge impact on you that you think is like really close to your heart? Or it could be books as well.
I mean, I don't really read. I mean, I should read, but I don't really read. I'm not exactly sure. I mean, I look up to a lot of photographers, like you said, like Marina Williams, Natalie, things like that. And then also, looking at a lot of, like, I guess the other editorial photographers, what they're doing, how they're successful.
Yeah. So taking inspiration from, like, other people's work.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, I have favorite movies, but they're not really, like, a reflection of, like...
Oh, that's okay. What are your favorite movies?
Okay, well, I wouldn't say movies, but I really like the movie A Simple Favor. It's on Netflix. It's so good to me.
I know.
So underrated.
Especially, I think when she says, like, if you, like, saying sorry, it's, like, a bad female habit.
Yeah.
And everything. I was like, wow, I never thought about that.
Yeah.
I really like that movie.
It literally, it's so good, and it makes you think a lot differently about reality, I think.
And I think for the last question, what would be the title of a book written about your life?
Ooh, I like that one. Probably like something like The Chaotic Life of Cassidy.
Chaotic Life of Cassidy.
Yeah, I feel like I'm a very chaotic person, but kind of in the best way possible. Because all of my, the chaos in my life reflects in my creative art. So
yeah,
I think, I don't know. I feel like that would be kind of
The Chaotic Life of Cassidy.
If anyone wanted to make a book about me and my life,
contact Cassidy for rights.
Just in case anyone wants to make a book about me.
Yeah, why not? That Cassidy, this has been great. Thank you so much for coming. And you're so talented, and I wish you best of luck for the future.
Thank you for having me.
Hope you found this episode helpful. See you next Thursday.